So when we left off, you were talking about your first communion.
Right. So yeah, I said I didn't think I was ready to make that kind of lifetime decision. So the nuns freaked out. Everybody freaked out. They talked to me, blah, 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 blah. And I finally said, forget it, okay. I'll make the first communion, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't have any spiritual impact.
Yeah.
It didn't have any personal meaning for me.
Yeah.
I'm just doing it to shut everybody up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't bought into the Catholic thing. So that was a source of friction with the parents. And,
Yeah.
and then that was also, I had big authority issues, as a result of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I was pretty rebellious in my teen years.
Your teen years?
Yeah, so
Guessing
up teens and 20s. Yeah, nothing really has. Nothing has changed. Really.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But now I'm the authority figure, right?
That's true.
So what's fair play, I guess, right? Yeah.
So you describe yourself as rebellious as a
Yeah, totally. I was totally rebellious in my late teens, early 20s.
anything else that you would really describe yourself as?
Well, because I was so rebellious, I flunked out of school, out of college, in the first, lasted for like 2 years. And then I just said, I don't need this college. What do you mean talking about? So I had jobs, drove trucks, worked at factories, did all kinds of things. And then at some point I realized I really did kind of need to go to college.
Yeah.
So I went back to college and finished college.
Well, I guess going into that, when did you decide that you wanted to teach?
Well, I don't know. I don't think it was ever really a conscious decision, or maybe it was. It was an unconscious decision that I made, maybe even as early as high school. Because even though I hated going to the Catholic school, there were some great teachers there that had impact on my life in a very positive way, And so I think I always knew I wanted to be a teacher, right? But then the question is, what do I teach, right? I never thought that you could graduate from college, 22 years old, and go be a teacher. What do you bring into the experience other than, I know math or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think you need to bring a little bit more to the table in terms of, life experience, being a person, interpersonal things, all that stuff, right?
So how old were you when you decided to go back to college?
Oh, see, so I graduated high school 74. I graduated college in 86. Okay. But it didn't take me 12 years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So 2 years on, and then so I guess it was in the middle 80s I decided that 83 or something like that, 84 is when I went back. And so I didn't have to start over because I had lots of math credits because I went to school to be an engineer at first. And then, so I had lots of math, and then I got a degree in economics. And then I moved here, and, I was working in a little think tank with economics, and didn't really like that too much. And then I saw an ad in the paper about a transition to teaching program, which kind of fit with my whole worldview, like you should be a little older.
Yeah.
So I signed up for that, and then they needed my college current transcripts to say what I would be certified to teach in, right? So I was certified to teach math and economics, as it turns out. So.
Have you ever taught economics?
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
Because when I started here, I don't think they had it. It wasn't a class.
Gotcha.
And Clement teaches it now. He was an econ major too, so
Yeah.
I'm sure he's certified too. But
Well, have you ever thought about doing it or give up math to do it?
yeah, no, because it's really there's a much higher need for math than there is for economics, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what does Clement have? 2 sections or something? I don't even know. So, but there's 22 math teachers, right? So there's plenty of math to do.
So definitely more. Well, actually, what about when you were a kid in school? Did you like math or did you like?
Yeah, I liked school.
You did?
Okay. It didn't really matter. I liked math. It was easy. I liked social studies. I liked history. Didn't really like English so much.
Yeah.
All that touchy feel. How do you feel about stuff? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But I liked all the other things. And I was a good student, and so.
Any clubs, activities?
No, I had a job.
You had a job?
Yeah, when I was 16, I got a job.
What was your job?
I worked in a factory. I put glue on paper. For $1.50 an hour.
What was the
Minimum wage, $1.50 an hour.
what was the glue and paper for?
You ever see those things in the mail? fold on a dotted line, lick on the edge, send back, or
Oh, the
something.
envelope?
Yeah, like an
Oh.
envelope, or like the Netflix envelope when you redo it, and then you peel the gum,
Oh,
peel the
yeah,
paper. We used
yeah.
that's another thing we did. We put this called pressure sensitive tape. We put that on paper.
Really?
So and this was before Netflix, of course, but they still had those
Yeah.
pressure sensitive tape machines.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was cool because I just had my own machine, and they say, okay, make 1,000 of these, and make 5,000 of these, and make it work.
Did you work that all the way until?
I worked there a lot. I worked in the summers, worked after school. Like we went from after school to 10 o'clock at night, and then I worked in the summers. And then when I was in college, I kind of left there because I got a better job at an ice cream factory that made like $7 an hour, and so I made a lot of money then. So I paid for my own college,
Yeah.
and even though I went out of state and flunked out, but still. So I did that, and then when I decided to go back to college, and I went back to the glue place to because I could say, because I had my own machine, the pressure sensitive, I could just say I'm coming in from here to here, and I could set my own hours around my classes.
So you said you went out of state. Like
Yeah,
what college did you go?
I went to Purdue.
You went to Purdue.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm being from Chicago, so it's Indiana, but it was only a couple hours away, but it was still out of
Did
state.
you go both times?
No. When I went back, I stayed in Chicago, went to University of Illinois
Oh,
at the Chicago campus.
gotcha.
So I would just take the metro or the L
Yeah.
from work to school, and then but I'd park at work, take the metro into work, and then take the metro back out.
I guess this is more of an experience question, but would you rather live in Chicago while growing up or here while growing up?
I don't know. There's questions about like if you would do things differently,
Yeah.
would you do them? And ultimately, like if I did things differently, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Yeah.
Right. So there's lots of things about who I am today that I like. I mean, everyone has regrets, but I try not to dwell on those because if I didn't marry that girl or do this or go here or live there, my sum of experiences would be different, right? So, I mean, how can you judge, right? So, I mean, Chicago was, it wasn't like a little suburbia thing, It
Yeah.
was like Chicago, right? So it was kind of rough, but it was,
You made it work.
yeah, you made it work, and I always had a job and things like that, so.
So you said you've been married before?
No, I didn't. I just.
Oh.
I was only married once.
Oh.
Okay. But if I could have married that person or that person, that's what I kind of
Yeah.
meant. No.
Yeah. So wait, so you have been married?
I am married now.
Oh, you are married now. All right.
One and the only time.
One and only. All right. That's good.
Still married. Still married.
Yeah, that's good. That's great.
Yeah.
Any kids?
Yeah. I have two daughters, who are 22 and 21.
Oh.
So one's finishing her senior year. One just graduated last year.
So where do they go to school?
Well, one went to she graduated from JMU,
Oh, yes.
and then the other one's at VCU now.
Oh, I think my sister's from VC
VCU. Yeah.
next year.
So that's a different thing. Like JMU is kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's just JMU.
Yeah.
And actually, my daughter who went there, I mean, liked the experience she had there. She liked the education, professors and stuff, but she hated being in JMU because JMU is so.
Iceland.
Well, it's not so much so isolated because it's not even 100 miles from here. It's really, but it's so Nova, right? It's so everyone there is. It's not very diverse.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why she spent her junior year in Scotland at St. Andrews University.
Really?
Yeah. So,
Did you pay for that?
yeah, we paid for that. Somebody had to pay for that.
Yeah.
So, but it was when Brexit happened, so we got a real bargain because the pound dropped.
Oh, really?
So we saved like $10,000.
Yeah.
But we still had to pay. But I remember when she did her junior year there, and so then we're moving her to her apartment senior year, and we're going out to dinner or something like that. And we're driving down the street, and a group of guys are walking down the street, and she just goes, "Oh." I go, "What?" She goes, "I forgot." the guys here are the worst. The
Yeah.
backward hat people.
Yeah. Skateboards.
Can I say? Can I use a curse word?
Yeah.
Fuck boys.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
So,
fun.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's pretty funny because in Europe it was, she met people from England and France and California and whatever, kind of thing. So
Yeah.
there's much more interesting people. Yeah.
So did your daughters grow up here?
Yeah, we've lived here the whole time. Yeah. Yeah, I've been here for 27 years.
In
right?
the same house?
In the same house. Well, yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
Same house for 20 years. Yeah, the kids were about 2 when they moved into the house we're in now. So.
Did you ever move out, like move around Chicago a lot? Or-
No, pretty much. I had an apartment here, apartment there, but my parents are always in the same place, so.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I did move around a lot.
Yeah.
And then in those years when I didn't graduate, that's when I lived a lot of different places.
Yeah, gotcha.
Trying to find myself.
Yeah. Gap year.
Gap decade.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, yeah.
That's
So.
fun.
I mean, there's something to be said about gap year. There's something to be said about that. I was not emotionally ready or mature enough to go to college
Yeah.
at 18. I was not. I think I even knew it at the time, but
Despite working,
despite working, despite all that, I still had that authority thing. Like, what are you going to do to tell me to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to study. I have to draw my sevens in this particular way. You're not going to give me credit for what are you talking about? A seven's a seven, right? So, because engineering was everything was, honest to God, if you didn't draw your numbers right, they marked you wrong, kind of
Really?
thing. Yeah, it was like super weird, So I just totally rebelled against all that kind of stuff. It's like, I don't need you,
Yeah.
kind of thing, And so they said, okay, well, we don't need you either, So they said, you.
yeah. So, what engineer were you trying to?
Mechanical,
Mechanical.
yeah. That was,
Where are the two ones? Like electrical?
well, there's electrical, mechanical, chemical,
Yeah, I think my sister's trying to get mechanical as well.
and there's also like aerospace and
Yeah.
industrial. There's lots of little side things, and now there's computer engineering, kind of thing. That's a thing.
I wonder if they still have, did you take chemistry as a?
Mhm.
Yeah, my sister struggles with that this year.
Yeah, I took chemistry. I was like, it was good. I was actually pretty good at it. Yeah. So, I remember my first year. It was the first test I ever took in college, and the test was out of 250 points, and I got a 38. And I'm like ready to go. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'll call home and say, okay, I'm done. I can't do this, right?
Yeah.
So then the professor's talking, and he starts talking about mean and standard deviation, right? Well, the mean was 26.
Yeah.
And so I was like 2 standard deviations above the mean, which meant I had an A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you must have been pretty smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you always think that know that you're better than or smarter?
No,
Or more
because
advanced.
as a kid, in elementary school and stuff, I couldn't. I had a terrible time learning to read. Okay, I had some. I'm sure I had some. What we would define today as a learning disability. Some kind of processing or dyslexia or something like that. Because I had a really, really hard time learning to read. But I also didn't have glasses, and I probably should have had glasses from the age of 4 or something like that. But I didn't get them until I was like 10.
Yeah.
So by the time I was 10, which is like 5th grade or something, that's when I finally learned how to read, right? And then because I had trouble learning how to read, my parents, I sat down, I had to read with them every night, we kept logs, and stuff like that. And that can go either way. One way you can say, well, the person could end up hating reading, or you can end up liking reading, right? So I ended up liking reading, so then I got into it. Then you didn't have to tell me to sit down and read. I always had a book. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the quickest way to a big brain, I think, is
Reading.
just read a lot. It doesn't even matter what you read, just read a lot.
Yeah. Information.
Whatever, it doesn't have to be information, just stupid stories, whatever, I read these they're almost like comic books today, these terrible Doc Savage and Conan the Barbarian books. They're terrible books, But for 10, 11, and 12-year-olds, they're,
Yeah.
chop them up with a sword, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I guess throughout your life, what was if you could go back, what would be the one historical event that you want to relive?
Relive.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you don't have to be there, but like, you remember like being happy that it happened or something.
The landing on the moon might be the one.
You're
Yeah.
most excited about.
Yeah, because I was a little space geek, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember our Little League baseball team played for the championship that day, and we won. And we went, and then the manager's going to take everybody out to the ice cream place, you know. But I didn't go because I had to get back because I knew they were going to walk on the moon. No, they were actually going to.
Oh.
They landed on the moon that day, and they were going to sit around a while, and then they were going to open up the hatch at like 5 o'clock or something and go out for a walk. Right. So that was about the time when the game was over, going to ice cream. I go, no, man, I got to go home and watch them get out the moon. But then it turns out that there was a delay. They didn't get out the moon for like 2 hours later or something like that. So I couldn't have gone to ice cream. You know?
Yeah. That
So,
sucks.
so that sucks. But I remember being supercharged about that. You know.
Yeah.
So, but that was pretty cool. Yeah. And then most of the other events are terrible. You know.
Yeah.
You know, the Challenger blowing up. You know, Kennedy getting assassinated. Robert F. Kennedy getting assassinated. You know, all these terrible things. You know. Vietnam. You know, all that. That was terrible. You know. So that was the big overarching thing when I was a kid was Vietnam.
Yeah.
Because they used to have a draft, you know, which means that, you know,
Were you eligible?
I wasn't old enough, right?
Oh.
So the year I turned 18 was the year they abolished the draft, right?
Gotcha.
So when I was 17, they still had a draft,
Mhm.
and they used to do a lottery number, right? So they would pick your birthday out of the hat, and so everybody got a number. So when I was 17, my birthday lottery number was like 23 or something like that. And then they would decide, oh, well, we need so many thousands of guys, right? So then they say, okay, we need birthday numbers 1 to 50 or something. Or maybe they'd say 1 to 75 or
Yeah.
1 to 30. But mine was low enough that no matter what they decided, I was going to go, right?
Yeah.
So there's no way I was going to go, right? But then they abolished the draft
So that's good.
during that year. And then when I was 18, there was no more draft.
Were you ever like nervous or anything?
Oh yeah, totally. I was not going to go. You
Yeah.
know.
Did you do anything to like prepare or anything like
Yeah,
that?
we were like looking for a place in Canada to go live. You know?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it didn't get that bad, right? Because you kind of knew the draft was going to be abolished. You know, so
Yeah.
that kind of thing was
Was it
going
like
to happen.
stern?
Right.
It wasn't just out of nowhere.
But it was. I mean, it was like it's not like it is now. You know, I mean, like I would drive through the neighborhoods and people have stars in the windows, right? And you go through the poor neighborhoods, and every other house had a star in the window. And there was 3 different color stars. One was like an active duty guy, one was a KIA guy,
Yeah.
and one was a missing in action guy. There was different colors, right? And so you go through the poor neighborhoods, which of course was what I lived in. They would have all these stars, and then we go to my grandparents' neighborhood, which was a much nicer neighborhood, right? And there was like 1 star, in the whole neighborhood. So you really got this sense that things were not equitable,
Yeah.
you know. And that was instilled in me in a pretty early age that things are not fair.
Yeah.
You know? So that was an all-consuming thing, the Vietnam War. You know, that was a huge deal.
Big thing.
It was a huge thing. Like now, we've been at war we've been at war your whole life,
Yeah.
and we're not even aware of it, basically. But in those days, everybody was aware that we were at war,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, it was all over the news. It was, you know, people in the streets. You know, stars in all the windows. You know, pro or con, right? We were at war. Yeah.
So, I guess moving forward, you got any plans? Are you gonna ride to teach? Are you gonna ride to teach anything out, or are you gonna retire?
Well, I'm going to retire. I don't know when I'm going to retire, but it's going to be within a few years, I would imagine.
Yeah.
You know.
Any plans after retirement?
You know, I don't know. That's kind of why I haven't retired. You know, so.
Yeah. Still figuring things out.
And my wife is not. She's 5 or 6 years younger than me, so she's
Alright.
not ready for that either. You know,
Yeah.
so we'll see. No, I don't really have. People have all these things. I'm gonna go live on a boat, or I'm gonna go live on the side of a mountain in Arizona, or you know, people always
Yeah.
have these things.
Yeah.
I did all those things already, right? So I don't think I want to live on a boat.
Yeah.
I'll be in my, you know, I'd want to get a job or something, do something, volunteer or something, right?
Yeah.
Because you go crazy just sitting
Stay
at
active.
home, you know. But
I get that.
you know, so as long as you guys are still fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all we need.
That's all we need. No
Yeah.
problem.
Thanks for sitting down with me.
No problem. My pleasure.
All right.